St. Katharina wore a worn-out shoe due to lack of money to have a change of shoes. In my reflection on St. Katharina's shoes, the experience that she had, the struggles that gave rise to a charism that is full of hope, not just for herself, but for all the pilgrims on the journey. As I reflect on these shoes, it depicts for me a call for a complete shift in consciousness. Katharina, having walked in a worn shoe as a servant leader, evokes strength. Thus, a paradoxical symbol that can be paralleled to the cross of Christ, which witnessed to resurrection and life. It beckons on us to become the voice of the voiceless, taking a prophetic stance in our world crippled with injustice. Katharina calls us to a spirituality of risk-taking. The risks that she took when she was beginning her community. She walked through what they would call in those days the Appian Way to get to the bishop in Limburg to really persistently ask for what she needed. She risked the time when she could no longer invite women to join because of the Kulturkampf, the kind of war that was going on in Germany at the time, when the government refused young women to join religious life. She sent some of the girls who wanted to join her to the Netherlands. That's risk taken. The risk taken that calls us to rock the boat at times, the boat of the rich to share their wealth with the poor, the boat of the learned in our society to share their knowledge and give power to the poor through education, the boat of the politicians to have a political commitment to equally share the resources of the earth and not enrich their pockets. It calls us to that risk-taking that rocks the boats of Christian leaders even, to work for unity, equality, justice, rather than engaging in petty competition. And St. Katharina calls us to follow Jesus, who dares to rock the boat of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, those who turned his father's temple into a marketplace. It is clear that for Jesus to risk bumping into an unknown became very challenging, and it cost him his life. In life, it is imperative to note that sometimes the road can be very foggy, and the thunderstorm scares us as the heavy rain blurs our vision. The rivers and oceans overflow their banks. Dead bodies are found in prisons, on the streets and sidewalks. Those who dare to speak about the injustice that is meted on people are silenced and sometimes killed. They are threatened with excommunication and rejection. Sometimes pessimism sets in our souls. The culture of silence dominates our weary and hopeless hearts as we watch the malnourished children waste away. The sick sometimes receive fake drugs. Our children take to drugs. They live on the streets. Men and boy children forced to fight in wars where the poor go to wars. Most of the wars that are fought in neighboring countries are fought by the poor. New forms of slavery emerge. Neocolonialism. Girls and boys trafficked for into prostitution and illicit labor. Children beget children. Youths give over their lives to drugs and gangs banging. People are caught in the web of poverty cycle and they experience empty promises. This cycle goes on in developed and developing countries alike. The problem only varies depending on where you live. Committed Christians and non-Christians question, is there any use in risking? What meaningful end could this situation possibly bring? Who will hear my tiny powerless voice? I have been praying and working for most of my life for the restoration of the world, and there seems to be no change. And here we go, the coronavirus. These thoughts sometimes cloud our minds and seem to discourage us at times. I also question, we are all in this together. St Katharina calls us and suggests to us to stay at the foot of the cross because there is that light that shines through the darkness. When we come back, I will invite you to a time of reflection, and I'll offer you some questions that may aid you in reflecting on your own story.